I've stayed local today, within easy walking distance. A couple of years ago I came to this little area of waste ground. It's slap bang in the middle of Market Warsop, and thankfully 2 years later it's not been developed yet. Some work has started on some of the older properties towards the back of me, but the rest is a fabulous oasis of grassland, scrubland, with a mix of plants and flowers and lots of Buddleias. And I'm going to have a look to see whether what I've been saying about Buddleias being empty and what other people have been agreeing with is actually true. There is a mass of Buddleia in flower here. Fairly young Buddleias, some of different ages where the ground's been left undisturbed and they germinated and grew 2, 3 or 4 years ago. I'm amazed that this little oasis of habitat is still here, and although to many people this is exactly what it is, waste ground, but it isn't. Waste ground or brownfield sites is far more than that. There's no doubt that this will imminently be built upon. I'm surprised that it is still here, but while it is here, it's an absolute magnet for invertebrates, and especially butterflies and other insects that are seeking nectar. However, there's not many of them. Well, there is one butterfly here at least. This fine red admiral looks very, very fresh, which for the middle of August you would expect. At least one butterfly is visiting this feast of available nectar on this little bit of waste ground here. What a beautiful thing to see. And red admirals certainly been one of the butterflies that have fared better than most this year. Even though it's primarily a migrant, they are overwintering here now in the UK and indeed in Nottinghamshire. It's frequently the first butterfly many people will see very early in the year, with butterflies tending to appear on those first sort of early spring days that are warm enough for butterflies to fly. So you can see this species quite often in February. And what a species to see after the gloom of winter. Rather takes me back to the early 1980s and late 70s, when I was, as a child, quite often found on waste ground or brownfield sites, as they tend to call them now. But there was a lot more areas like this when I was younger. They've all since been developed now, and sites like this were usually as a result of a business going bust and that business being knocked down, or maybe the yard for that business, and then allowed to grow over and become real havens for wildlife. But we've lost them all the ones that I used to frequent when after butterflies and moths. They've all gone now, all under the developers' wheels. It's a shame that we can't devote a few more little untidy areas within our towns and cities, but there's the key word. A lot of people think that areas like this are untidy, that they're no use for anything, they just attract trouble and quite frankly just need to be built on. And I'm afraid in the next few years or so they're all likely to disappear. But the variety of invertebrates that sites like this could hold over the course of a number of years was tremendous. The more effort you put in, the more you would certainly get out, although at the time and in my younger years it was butterflies and moths that I was mainly interested in. How I wish that I'd got some waste ground full of Buddleia such as this one when I was younger. A real haven for insects and for wildlife, and it's a shame that when these sites become vacant and the buildings that used to be here beforehand were knocked down, it's a shame that they weren't developed straight away. I don't like to see what's effectively a habitat develop over the course of a number of years, and then one day all of a sudden you drive past somewhere like this and it's flat because the bulldozers have been in. Another species which is here is peacock. Nice to see at least 2, possibly 3 peacocks here in this little area. Peacocks are still just emerging now. They only have the one brood. I've not seen a brood of peacock larvae this year, and typically peacocks go into hibernation unusually early. Brimstones do the same. So nice to see this beautiful butterfly here enjoying these Buddleias. As you can hear, only a couple of yards away from the traffic. But sites like this, with the haunt of one particular butterfly, the wall brown, a species which has been extinct in Nottinghamshire now for a number of years. One time a day you could come to a site like this and expect to see wall brown. They frequented these untidy corners of towns and cities, but now they don't frequent Nottinghamshire at all. I find it difficult to believe what I'm seeing at times, or I should reverse that, I find it difficult to believe what I'm not seeing at times. There is nothing on this area of Buddleia. I've not specifically chosen this shot just to show that there's nothing, or make out that there's nothing. I mean, there is a large white flying in the background there, but it's not just butterflies that are missing, it's bees. I'm surprised that there's no bumblebees here, or very few. But again, it's Diptera. There is nothing. Any other year this would be a magnet for every butterfly in town. It's not a magnet for anything this year because numbers are so small. They will come back over the coming years, there's no doubt about that, but for someone who's been interested in insects and invertebrates ever since I was a child, and that's unfortunately now 50 something years, it's still very, very strange to see what's effectively an insectless world almost. That's no exaggeration how it is at the moment. The Buddleias are bare. Virtually a cloudless sky all around me and above me today, and these Buddleia flower heads here are virtually empty, not just of butterflies but of Diptera and bumblebees too. I've been here 3/4 of an hour now, and the only things that I've seen visiting these Buddleias, which is the only nectar source here really at the moment, are 5 or 6 peacock butterflies, a single red admiral, a single gatekeeper, 2 large whites and 1 small white. Not many butterflies at all for the profusion of available nectar there is. In terms of other insects, the only hoverfly I've seen is Aristolis pertinax, and only 3 or 4 of those visiting these flowers. And bumblebees, 2, just 2 bumblebees here. Amazing. But this site has changed considerably in the 2 years since I last filmed here. 2 years ago it was full of Viper's bugloss, and that really did attract the bees and the hummingbird hawk moth at the time of filming. Viper's bugloss has gone. There's one plant tucked away behind me somewhere here, and that's all there is. I didn't see any here last year, but the ground is now more covered in grass, and so maybe the Viper's bugloss can't get a foothold from the seeds. But there's plenty of Buddleia here, but unfortunately it's all going to waste.